Look at this photography from Jabi Sanz photography. Isn't that amazing? I just came back from Iceland and I work with Jabi and he's just a dream photographer. Look at these kind of photos. I couldn't believe it. So I wanted to share his technique with you guys and I did a whole interview. You're in for a treat. You're going to learn a whole bunch of things about photography. I mean, he's one of the most surprising landscape photographer I ever met. I want to be like him when I grew up as a landscape photographer. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to this incredible photographer who is Spanish, who lives in Thailand. Here's his whole life story, and you'll learn so much if you like landscape photography. Mesdames et messieurs, here is Jabi Sanz photography. Bonjour, Jabi. How's it going?
Hi, Sergey. How are you doing?
Yeah, so people say Jabi or Jabi, depending where you are on the planet.
Yeah, most of the people call me Jabi, but my real name is Jabi because I'm Spanish and the J we say Jota. So Jabi.
Yes.
Jabi, yes.
Yeah, I really had such a good time with you in Iceland. I was, I love your energy. I love how you care for people. I love how you take photos. It's very, very, very inspiring. I was very, honored to be with you.
Yeah, it was my honor to meet you because actually, how I started with photography, so was a very big honor to meet you. You was inspired me from the beginning when I started with photography, so it was a great time with you in Iceland, and hopefully we can work together again in the future.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. I mean, if I inspired you, when I looked at your work, it's rare that a photographer really inspired me or like to push me places I haven't been in. This is how I felt when I saw your work. And before we go into the photos, what's amazing about you is you haven't been doing it like me for 17 years. You started, I know your story, but how did you get started in photography? Tell everyone your story. It's kind of incredible.
Okay. It's funny because I started my photography journey in Iceland. I was in holidays with my wife. I used to travel. Is one of my passions. Travel is one thing I love to do. And we was going to Iceland in 2017, in summer 2017. And on the way to Iceland, my wife and we was thinking like we are going to one of the most beautiful countries and we don't have even a camera. So on the way there, we was in all the duty frees and the airports everywhere. We was looking to buy a camera, and finally we didn't find anything. But in Reykjavik, in a photo shop in Reykjavik, in a store in Reykjavik, we bought my first camera, the Sony 6500. That I still have it as a.
Oh, it's a beautiful camera.
Yeah, I still use it as a second body. And there is where I start my journey as a photographer. Actually, when we was moving from one location to another, my wife was driving the car, me I was reading the instructions of the camera, how to use it, and watching a lot of videos in YouTube. And one of these videos or channels was your channel, Sergey. Wow, so I get very inspired by you. I know how to use Lightroom thanks of you. And that's how I started. Of course, after years and years, I'm very lucky because I have a lot of free time in my life. So every day I spend a lot of time to study and develop my actually workflow. So for many years I watch a lot of tutorials from other people. I travel a lot. I shoot a lot. I practice and share with other friends. Actually, I have a group with other photographers. Then we normally share our work and then we critique ourselves. So I learn and I put a lot of effort to learn every day, and I still have to learn a lot for sure. It's a long journey.
Yeah, but that's what's incredible about your work is that you have a very strong voice. Like every time I see one of your photo on Instagram, I don't even need to look at the name. I know it's one of your photo. Like you have a style. You've developed a style very fast, and it's very unique, and it's very nice. All right, so here is your website. Now, I love that it starts with the forest because the forest, I must say, is what impresses me the most. And Like you have a very, very strong style where there is a very definite, source of light. There is a very, what I love about your photography is that there is a very strong message where to look. And so, like, I have no idea how you do this. And some of the photos are just, I mean, just look at this one, for example, which is your background right now. I absolutely love the depths that's in that photo. It's incredible. Or let me see here. This photo, for example, is incredible. I love, it's really hard. I've done a lot of forest photo and I find it really, really hard. So my next question is, how did you develop this style here? Like this sort of like very sort of like contrasty, diffuse, light guiding, dodge and burn style?
Okay, it's taken me a few years to develop my style, and this is thanks to, as I say before, I watch many tutorials for many people who inspire me, Spanish photographers, American photographers, Italian photographers from all over the world. And after years and years, I pick a little bit from each one, and then I make my own workflow. And basically, what is my workflow? I normally do basic adjustments in the raw file, and then I work with the light, with the contrast, with the color, with the atmosphere of the image, and then at the end with the last details. But that's basically my workflow. Later we are going to go through some of my image if you want, and
I would like, I just wanted to show,
yeah.
like from my viewpoint, the kind of work that really strikes me, something like this is amazing, like the depths in the photo. I'm curious, where did you shoot most of this forest photo, this series that we see here?
Actually, most of these images are from my region, from Navarra. I'm from Pamplona, North Spain, and this is a forest. Most of these images is from a forest. It's called Urbasa. That is just like half hour from my home. But there are many images also in here from Jura, the south of France, near the Alps, and
Really? Wow.
yeah, and some from Switzerland. But yeah, most of the images are from Spain.
One of my favorite is this image. I absolutely love how the roots with the moss leads as a leading line to the tree, and the light in the middle, and like it's I find it so hard to find, like, what do you do? Like you walk around until you find a nice tree and a nice composition.
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious to know what's your process on finding good composition in forest.
I love to get lost in the forest. I like to walk a lot and try to find the nice image. But I think is photography forest is sometimes is very difficult and chaotic because
that's my problem. There's too many things going on in the forest.
Yeah, too many things. So you need to simplify the things and try to find a nice tree, a nice roots, a nice contrast from the foreground to the background for like a dark to light. And yeah, but I believe is sometimes it's very difficult. So for example, this image, I found this root of the tree. Then I get very, very close to it, very low with the camera. And then because I was very low to forget the tree also in the frame, I have to shoot a vertical panorama. If I shoot only the root, was not even the tree on the image.
So this is like 3-4 photos, like a vertorama going up?
4 image, yeah, right.
And I see there's a lot of fog or mist, or is this in post-processing, or you went there like early or late to get that day?
Yeah. Most of the image, I always check the weather, and I try to go to forest when there is a mist or fog or rainy days. Is when I love the most the forest, because when it's very bright or when it's sunny, it's even more difficult to shoot the forest because you have light coming from everywhere, and when there is, for example, no branch or no leaves, the sun or the light is coming from everywhere and it's difficult to compose. So yeah, when it's fog, the image is more easy to shoot, and also is more beautiful to shoot in forest.
Yeah, it's incredible. And look at the light source and everything. It's really, really, really nice. I mean, I know there's post-processing also, but I always say the best thing is to get the best possible raw file and then make it even better, using
Yes.
software. And really, I was so inspired to go back, and I love this one. Like this one is, I don't know.
This one is exactly the same as the one you asked me before, that you really love it, with a lot of autumn leaves. If you see, it's the same tree, but this one is in winter with no leaves, and the other one is in autumn.
Oh, it's the same tree.
Yeah, it's the same tree.
Yeah, but it's funny. Oh, I see. You
a
were
different
more on this
composition.
side here, and now you're more using this
exactly.
as a yeah. One thing which I'm very passionate about is foreground elements, and I can see it's the same thing for you. You have always very interesting foregrounds. I always tell people the most important thing for me is like the first 10 meters, 30 feet in front of my camera, because anybody can get like a good waterfall and a good tree, but often they mess up the foreground. And your foreground are absolutely incredible. Okay, and well, maybe you want to. I want to talk to you a little bit about post-processing. Do you want to share some tricks for a viewer on your amazing post-processing techniques?
Sure. You wanna?
I love. You know what I love about your photo is that they don't look. I know there's work being done into it, but they look very natural and dramatic. And I'm a big fan of what I call natural drama. So a lot of emotion, but not screaming, retouching.
Okay, so I'm going through very quick through this PowerPoint that I create about mastering the light and composition in landscape photography. I'm a photographer, but I'm also believe I'm an artist. I never paint, but in my image, I do a lot of painting. And what I mean with this, I do a lot of dodge and burn. I dodge the light and I make dark the shadows. With this, I create a lot of contrast and a lot of dynamic in the image. And I also guide the eye of the viewer to the main or interesting point of the image. And I believe this is one of the most important things in one good image. As you say before, the raw file have to be good. If the raw file is not good, the image is not going to be good, even if you do amazing post-processing. Of course, we need to have the light. You cannot paint light if there is no light in the image. You can create some, but have to be in the image, in the raw. If there is no, it's not possible to do. So I'm going to go very quick to the basic things of the composition, or what I normally look in my image to create my photos. My artist vision is the first thing I look at. It is the composition, and then the light, and then the color, because the color is also a very important part of the image. And then it need to be a balance between the color. And then one of the things I love the most is the atmosphere. And this we are going to see how we can create if there is no atmosphere in the image. And then we need to always take care about the composition, for example, of the visual flow, how the eye drive to the image. And this we can do it with leading lines, with the S-curve, natural S-curve, like for example, an arch or a cave, invert arch, repetition of elements like rocks or trees or interesting things that are in the nature, and natural framings. We are going to have some example also about this. Then the visual weight of the image is also very important, right? Because we need to have a balance. If we see a picture, for example, in a museum, we cannot put all the elements of the picture in the left side or the right side of the image, because it's going to be like more weight in one side, and then it's not going to be balanced. So we need to find a balance in our image. And then other types of composition is layers. For example, you can play with foreground, middle ground, and background, or mountains with different layers, interesting formations, scale, and symmetry, and patterns also. For example, here we have our main subject, then we have this sea stacking here, and the sun. And how I play with the leading lines here. So we have leading lines going to our subjects, in here, and here, and here we have a natural arch that also guide our eye to the main subject of the image.
Yeah, amazing.
In here, we have our main subject, this amazing sea stack. And then we have all these leading lines of the water, as you can see, here, here, then leading our eye to the sea stack. And not only this, our sky and this rock in here, then clouds, you can see, also guide the lines to here. To take this picture, I was in the water, I shoot, I don't know how many shots to get the right flow of the water, the right motion. I try a lot of different shutter speeds, and I need to wait for the perfect wave to get this leading line. So you can imagine, I shoot so many.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
And
usually you do what? Like that's what half second, a second exposure.
Yeah, it's depend of how strong is the water, but normally I play between 1/3 of a second and 1 second, in between that. And I believe this was like a 1/4 or half second.
Yeah,
yes.
otherwise you get too much foam and you don't get the leading lines anymore. Huh?
Exactly, yes, exactly. So here we have another example. Our main subject is, of course, the waterfall, but we have so many leading lines, the stairs going through there, this leading line in here, the little S-curve in here going through the waterfall. Also the river have here the rock leading there, and all these little cascades, plus all this corner then go through the waterfall as well. Here, this is a very great example of the leading line. Yeah.
Yes.
And we can see how this leading you to the entire image. This is a natural arch of a little stream, then leading you to the main mountain. This is a natural framing. We was talking from natural framing. So this is a cave. This is our main subject. This is the natural framing of the cave. Then frame our subject and the leading lines. Here another example of the leading lines with the river. This is another example of natural frame. I use this branch of the tree to frame the mountain. And here the image you was talking before. I
love this image.
A little flower on the daisy.
Yeah, makes a big difference. Gives a good anchor point from where you were enjoying the image.
Yes, and then all the moss leading you, and even the trees leading you to the main subject.
You know what I like the most about this image is the rim light. The rim light on all the moss, how it's just one-sided, you know, it is just beautiful. It makes every layer stand from one another. It's amazing. Okay, I'm not going to spend so much time in this PDF because I have a lot of imaging here, but as you can see, is always I try to find leading lines, something on the foreground, and then something interesting, the subject in the background. So yeah, I'm going to go through very fast in here. And as you can see, always leading lines, layers, layers, more leading lines, S-curve, natural S-curve, more leading lines, another leading lines. Okay, and then I'm going to go through one of the image. Let me open Photoshop. Oh, look, I was working in this image from our trip in Iceland. We shot together. Yeah. Diamond Beach at sunrise. Yeah, I'm still working on this. Not finished yet, but. So you do a lot of work in Photoshop. I do a lot of work in Lightroom, but you do most of your dodge and burn in Photoshop? Look, I do also, you see, ACR. ACR, which is kind of Lightroom, yeah. Yeah, I do a lot of work in Photoshop, but I use Camera Raw, it's like Lightroom, as a plugin to do many things like filters and stuff like that. And I also use Luminar because there is some amazing panels or plugins in there, and I really love it. But yeah, most of the Dutch and burn I do in Photoshop. And this is the image. Let's see the total process of the image, the final result. Let me see now. So this is the final result.
this is how I start the image. As you can see, of course, the raw file is very flat.
Yeah.
And this is because it's raw. But we have already some of the light in the moss. You can see.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, can you go like group of layers by group of layers so we can see the workflow?
This is what I'm going to do.
Perfect.
So you can see that there is light already on the moss. But what I'm going to do with my workflow is just emphasize. How do you say emphasize? And
put more emphasis on.
Emphasis. Yeah, on this light. So for example, most of my let's go one by one here. The first thing I do is actually like Lightroom, but I do with Camera Raw. In this first process, what I create is a vignette. A vignette then guide my eye just to where I want in the image. As you can see, now we have a lot of messy and everything. My eye go everywhere in the image. Go to this corner, here, everything, because there is no interesting point right now. But with this little vignette, I darken all this area and I emphasize this area with the light. So I already drive my eye to here.
Question: do you do the vignette with the vignette, or do you do like linear gradients on the side?
I do with radial gradients because it's more
flexible.
I can adjust, more flexible, and I can adjust
that's what I do also.
As I want. If you want, I can show you how normally I do the vignette. It's very simple. Let me just 1 second. Control J and Control A, Control copy, Control N. Let's create a new image. Let's paste this, flatten, and let's create the vignette very quick.
Yeah. Do you create a smart object before you go into a camera roll, or you just go directly on the...
No, normally I don't work with the smart objects because
you can't go back. If you do something, you can't go back. If you do,
yeah, you're right. But sometimes, depending on the image, I work with the smart objects, but normally no, because they are very heavy and my computer doesn't go as fast as I want. So but yeah, sometimes I do work with
smart
objects.
Takes a lot of power.
Yeah. So for example, the vignette, I'm going to Camera Raw filter. This is one very important step on my workflow, and is guide the eye to the important thing of the image. So we are in Camera Raw. We are going to radial filter. I make the image as small as possible. And then I create I invert, because now was going affect the exterior, but now I want to affect the interior. And I put the exposure, as you see, -4. And then I found where exactly I want this. Now I play with I take out a little bit of contrast. I put the highlights up, shadows up, whites up, and then the blacks I put down, and now we are clipping a lot of blacks. How I fix that? I'm going to clarity, a little bit of clarity, and negative dehaze. And even that, I still have clipping blacks. So I go to create a new layer, brush. I'm going to blacks, put 25, the same. And with the big brush, I paint.
So you don't have too much black pixel which are 100% black. There's no more information.
So I think I lost you a little bit. My internet here is not really good. So now you see we have no more clipping blacks. And what now I do, I'm going back here, is check the vignette, and I'm going back to Photoshop. Let me put this in here. I'm going back to Photoshop. And now I adjust the opacity of the vignette, because if I left like 100% is too strong. So this is
so you're going
why,
to lower the exposure of that layer so that until you judge it to be good.
yes, exactly. So now, as you can see, it's very strong, the vignette, but the good thing to do it with the layer on Photoshop is that I can play with the opacity and I can go just to where I like it. For example, there, 40%. Each image is going to be different, but around
For sure.
35, 50, 60% is depend of the image, but
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, it's
and
funny.
right now,
Ansel Adams, Clyde Butcher, all the big masters I know are very big on dodge and burn, especially on closing in people on the photo.
yeah.
I see it with many masters.
Okay, so this is one of my first steps in my workflow. And now, as you can see, the before and the after, now we have more interesting, or my eye go more to the middle because now it's more dark, the things. And our eye is going to go always to the brightest part of the image.
That's right.
So let's close this. I need to save. And let's go back here. I'm going to move this in here. So this is the first step, the vignette, and then Dutch light. This is my first time I do some Dutch.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Do you do it like with putting the layer in soft, like you using an overlay? Okay, you're doing overlay, and
I do two. I do one with overlay because create contrast, and I do also sometimes with soft light because create haze and atmosphere. So the first one I do with the overlay, and how I do this normally, I create luminosity mask. Doesn't matter which panel you have, Lumencia, take a panel or whatever, it's all the same. I create luminosity mask, for example, number 1 or number 2,
which are light. So number 1 is gonna make a selection of the highest, what is very bright in the image, right?
Yes, we have our luminosity mask. We are seeing what is white is reveal and what is in black is not revealed. So we are going to make even this selection a little bit more closer. So normally what I do is with these sliders, I make the blacks more blacks, as you can see. And with this one, I make the brights more brights. It's taking a little bit. And now with this selection, I click here and I make a selection.
Oh, wow. That creates a selection of that luminosity mask. So it's going to select, very bright colors, basically. Yeah.
Yes. Now, because we have these little ends, red colors in here, we know we have a selection.
Okay.
And now in here, in my new layer of overlay with a brush, I take a color. I take a color of the grass. I make it less saturated and more bright. And now I start to paint the pen at 20%, 40%, and I start to paint over the image. And because I have a selection, I don't need to be very, very, very careful than if I go to the
it's
shadows.
Only painting on what's really, that's really nice.
It's only paint what is bright. So that's why it's making very natural look and very realistic. Because if you paint without selection, you are going to paint everywhere, and you are going to paint also in the shadows, and then you are going to make a big mess, and it's not going to look natural. So this is one of the most important things.
This is the first time I really understand. I mean, I knew a luminosity mask. I've used them in the past, but a very interesting application. Okay,
so this I can spend, I'm telling you, I can spend hours. I can spend 1 hour, 2 hours just painting.
No, but I just want the overall,
yes.
People.
I know. I mean to the people to understand. This is one of the most important process I do in my workflow. And with this, I'm going to, as you can see, I'm going to paint this leading line, all the light here, the important things on the trees, the important things on the moss in here. And I can spend 1 hour, 2 hours easily. So I take time. I do a great luminosity mask. I'm painting. I also do the same, but with the shadows, and I don't paint light. I paint darken colors, especially sometimes like blue, or if it's a forest, like a dark browns. And yeah, this is one of the most important things. And then later let's go to the next layers. In here, I make even a little bit more darken, like I dodge. With this layer, I create a little bit atmosphere. I don't know if you can see the before and the after. The only thing I do is lift up the shadows a little bit with levels. You see, I put output about 4 or 6 or 8, 10, depending on the image. And then I create another little radial filter with light in the middle. And then here, now this is the sun. Okay, the only thing I do is with sometimes hard light or sometimes soft light. What I do is create a point of light, a source of light. I know the light was here.
Do you do that with like a very soft brush, like one click of a soft brush?
Yes, and in this case, I have 2 layers. Sometimes I do 4, sometimes 5, is the pen. And how I start is with the same color I paint in here, or the same color of the light, with a small brush, about 500 or 400, I paint 100% one click. And then I go to the second layer. I make the brush a little bigger. I make another point, and then as much as layers I want, and then I create another one and more. And then the important thing, this is only apply, as you can see, to the highlights. This is my mask. I play a lot with luminosity mask. So it's not applying in the shadows, it's only applying in the highlights. As you can see, what is white is applied, what is black is not applied. Yeah,
that's why it makes it much more natural. You don't see the big brush of light I have sometimes with Lightroom. It's amazing.
Yes. And of course, I play with the opacity of the filters. As you can see, have only 45%, and this one have 25%.
Yeah, especially with forest photography. That's why I really understand luminosity light is very important, because there's so much complexity.
And then the next adjustments, I still darken a little bit more the corners, that is not interesting, put a little bit more of light. One of the most important things, the atmosphere, as we told before. And then the color. Look at the trees, especially.
Wow.
The orange before and after.
So on the color, just do you do any luminosity mask, or yeah, you do?
Yes and no. I do. Normally the colors I work with the mid-tones, and then I apply with color balance. And then another very powerful tool is this one, selective color. Selective color is going to give you all the colors. Be very careful with the whites, neutrals, and blacks, because this one is going to mess up the image totally. But you can play.
You can really get the colors how you want them.
Yes, as you want. You have to. This panel is very similar to the HSL in Camera Raw, but it's way more powerful. And you have to be very careful, because you can really destroy the image with just one slider. So you can play with this because it's a very powerful tool, and you can make the colors as really you want. So what else? And then I create last adjustments. I create a little bit more of glow. This I believe I do with soft light.
I see that there's no luminosity mask.
No, I just create a little bit more of like glow. And then the last adjustments is a little bit more atmosphere in the entire image. And this is my entire workflow. Normally is how I do.
I absolutely love it. Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Um,
Yeah.
what is your goal? Like, where do you see yourself going as a photographer? What would you like to achieve in the future?
Okay. I think 5 years ago, a guy who see me, I was very passionate about photography, asked me, how you see yourself in 5 years? These 5 years passed already, and I think I'm start to achieve all the things I wanted. Most of the things I want is travel, because I love, is one of my passions, and photography is my other passion. So mix this together was one of my goals. And right now, for the last couple of years, I'm doing that. I'm doing workshops, I'm doing private workshops, and I'm also teaching online. So I wish I can do this for the rest of my life. This is what I like.
You should.
Yeah.
You should make a tutorial with your technique. I would buy it right away. I know you don't have any tutorials. You only do one-on-one Skype coaching,
Yes.
which takes a lot of work, I believe. So
Yes.
that's my last question: is where can people, if they want to learn from you, how can they contact you?
Okay. I'm in most of the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Vero, my website, even my email.
I'm going to put all the links down below, by the way. You can,
Okay.
there'll be the link to
Thank
your main
you.
website. Is that okay?
Yeah, just that's the best. Yeah, because in my website there is the private class, there is my workshops, there is all the links to my social media and even my email. So that's the best. And also in my website I have image that they are not sharing in social media. So you can probably see more of my work in there.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, for me, you're the Antonio Banderas of photographer. You speak like him, you look like him.
That was so funny.
Yeah, I think he looks like Antonio Banderas. Anyway,
Thank you.
You're an incredible artist. It was so inspiring to spend this week with you. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. And yeah, guys, follow him. If you want to learn these techniques, contact him. What an artist. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sergi. Merci beaucoup. It's been a pleasure and an honor to have this interview with you. So really appreciate you giving me the opportunity. And yeah, I'm looking forward to meet you again and work in the field and see you somewhere.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, take care. Thank you so much. All right, guys, I hope you like this. If you did like this, please give me a like. It really makes a difference if you just like the video, comment, and let me know what you would like to learn. I'm trying to do 1 or 2 videos per week, and I read every one of your comments, and it just gives me ideas of what I can teach you on this YouTube channel. And also, if you ever wanted to learn Photoshop, I made a really cool new video. It's very beginner, but it's about how to use Photoshop as a photographer if you're a Lightroom user. You've been using Lightroom, but you don't know how to rate things, you don't know how to combine exposures, you don't know how to extend your crop or do all kind of magical things Photoshop. Well, check out this video, it's gonna blow your mind.